Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be somewhat of a continuation from the last time when I talked about the Note Detector machine and what it can do as far as translating notes from an incoming audio signal into MIDI data that can then be altered and used later in your song projects. So just to recap, last time we were trying to figure out the bass line for a song. So we did some very aggressive EQing to isolate only the bass, and then we ran it into this special note detector, which then detected which note the bass line was playing and then converted that into a MIDI signal. So today's concept is going to be similar to that. We are exploring another possibility of how this note detector can be helpful to our songwriting process or song learning process in some cases. So now we're going to see what we can do with a vocal mic hooked up to this note detector machine. If we will be able to hum a melody and have that recorded in the same tone as our synthesizer or whatever, and have it be recorded to the grid inside of the DAW and have it be in rhythm and everything. I'm expecting there to be a few hiccups along the way. This is by no means a very perfect method of doing things, but we're going to get into the details of it right now. So here we are over here in Jescola Buzz. We are ready to make the magic happen. If this is your first time here on the channel, you might be wondering why I'm using something that's so out of date. Maybe you've never even heard of Jescola Buzz before. Well, the short answer is that it's free, and I've also been a Buzz user for a very long time, so the environment is very familiar to me. And also, I believe that among the free software choices that you have, even today in 2021, Buzz is still one of the very most powerful. So if you're interested in more of an explanation on that, you can check out some of my older videos. I will provide a link in the description, and we're just going to move on with this concept. So I'm just going to explain the setup here really quick. I have everything muted right now because it's going to make some really weird noises if I don't. So we're just going to keep everything muted until we need to make sound. First and most important, we have this in every video. It is the Jed Shiva meter. It's this audio meter you see right here. It will just tell us how loud everything is. We just want to avoid anything peaking up and over 0. I like to leave a little bit of headroom, so I want my upper limit usually to be right here at this -6 mark. So let's keep that up and out of the way. Moving on, we have a synthesizer. This one is actually a bass synthesizer, but we'll be using it in a higher octave, so it won't sound like a bass. This is the Tal bassline. It is a VST plugin, and it is available for free. And I will provide links for all these VSTs down in the description. So we'll just mute this real quick, and then we'll unmute this and unmute this. And that will give you an idea of what our synthesizer sounds like here. Oops. All right, lovely. So anyway, this synthesizer sound is going to be what our vocal sound becomes when it's recorded. So let's just close this out and we'll check out the rest of this. So then we have the main star of our show here is the note detector, of course. So as we feed this input, this note name and octave will change. Down here we have the MIDI send target. So this is very important. We want to make sure that our Tal bassline is checked and it stays highlighted. This just gives us a list of all of these machines that we have in our song project. So we just have to find the one that is our synthesizer, which is the Tal bassline. There are several other settings here. A lot of them we can just ignore. This is the master volume. This is the panning. We don't want to disable it. We do want to send the notes to the Tal bassline. The MIDI channel 0 is fine by default. We don't need to change that. Yes, we want to send the velocity. About halfway up is fine. No, I don't want to randomize the volume, although you might want to change that depending on your needs. The semitone will just pitch shift it up or down by a semitone or half step, and we don't want to do that. We want to have the exact pitch that we're singing into the microphone be translated over. It's these last two parameters right here that you're really going to have to mess around with and try to find a spot that works good for you. I think that when I recorded my last video with the Note Detector, I had the detect level a lot higher, and I think I like it down a little bit lower now. But this is going to be different depending on what you're recording as an input source and what you want as an output source. My only complaint about this whole system is how sensitive the input is. It's hard for you to hold right on an exact note without it fluttering between that note and the next available sharp or flat. It's kind of like as soon as the signal gets weaker, then it stops being able to detect as well and it gets confused. Since the last video, I've added a few more things to the setup to hopefully smooth this out a little bit and solve some of these problems for us. So the first one I added is a G-snap, and this is an auto-tuner. So I kind of tweaked the settings on this just so it would detect a good wide band of frequencies and would kind of gate out some of the lower volume stuff that we don't want. I want the speed to detect as fast as it possibly can. And then I wanted the attack time to come in as early as possible and the release time to release as late as possible. So I know a lot of you out there don't like auto-tune, but all this is doing is taking the incoming signal from the microphone and making it a little bit more consistent. That way our note detection algorithm does not get confused as easily. And then the other thing that I added to help out with this is the gate. This is just a simple gate plugin by Dead Duck is the company who makes it. Again, there will be links in the description. And basically we just tell it to watch out for this threshold. I have it set to about negative 26 decibels or so. Anything that falls below this threshold will just be muted and you won't hear it at all. You want the attack to come in as fast as possible. I actually didn't mess with the hold time that much, but if it becomes necessary, we might tweak this a little bit and see if we can get a cleaner result with that. Okay, so let's close some of these up, and then one of the last things that makes this setup work here is the ASIO in by Polak, ASIO in. So this is the machine that makes it possible to get the microphone input from the audio interface. And you'll notice in order to make this work, you actually have to come up here to the top right corner and change what audio driver you're using. It has to be set to Polak ASIO for the sound driver, otherwise this machine right here will not work and you will not get the input from your audio interface. And speaking of audio interfaces here, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that if you're watching this video, then you probably know what an audio interface is, and I hope that you also have one for yourself. But if not, then the short version is it's a little USB plug-in box that lets you plug in a microphone or a guitar or other kinds of audio signal and then use that as input for your computer so you can record music and stuff. Okay, let's close some stuff out, and now we're going to get ready for the really obnoxious part, and we're going to test this out, and this is going to be a little bit messy at first, but that's going to be fine. So you see what happened there? When I hum into the microphone, then the ASIO in picks that up and feeds it to the G-snap, and it gets auto-tuned, and then the auto-tuned signal goes into the note detector, which detects the note, and then that sends the signal over to the TAL bassline, which then plays back what I was humming as a synthesizer melody. You see how it gets pretty messy there, so sometimes it'll get confused and it will get stuck between a note and its half step, and sometimes after I stop making noise, then it won't send the off command. So it'll sit there and kind of freak out with a mind of its own and just play a bunch of random notes. So you're thinking, okay, that's pretty cool, but I mean, what's really the application of this? What's really the purpose? How is this usable, right? Well, of course, the reason is because we can record with this. Let's hop over here to the sequence view, and we'll just move this over and we'll close this out. I had actually already set up a pattern for this, so pay this no mind, and I'll just make a new one. Call it 01, make it 512 long, even though we probably won't use all of that, but we'll just make that a starting point. Okay, hop back over to our sequence. We'll put the number 1 pattern here. Again, looking over here on the right-hand side of the screen, it shows you what key you have to push in order to get what pattern. So yeah, let's actually just keep the loop right here for our demonstration. Again, that's Control E to set the end point, Control B if you want to set the beginning. So we'll just set this to repeat the first 64 rows, and then we will unmute it and we will have a little bit of fun here. So all we want to do is just make sure that this is looping, and we want to hit the record button, and then we can unmute, and then we can start humming some weird stuff and recording it. Ouch. Stop. Okay, that gives us something weird just to demonstrate with here. So let's pop over to the sequence again. Maybe we can just close this for now. And let's double click over here and we'll see what has been recorded. Actually, let's go back out and we'll just mute this. So this is the only thing that's on. Okay, now we'll be able to hit play and just hear the synthesizer notes coming through. Okay, so obviously our challenge now is just going to be going into this pattern and then picking out, did it mean A or A sharp? Did it mean G or F sharp or F sharp, right? So we got all these little fluttering around pitches that aren't supposed to be there. Maybe it's a little bit off grid. I didn't really put a click track or a metronome in here anyway, but you could probably get this to line up to all of the beats and bars on the grid too. So let's just check out this melody for a second. Okay, I think that the A and not the A sharp is the one that we want to keep. So let's get rid of the rest of these. Let's see what else. Actually, I think we do want that A sharp in our melody. So let's add that back in. Yeah, so we can totally notice we want the A sharp, and then we want to keep the F and the D. So everything else except the F and the D in here we're going to delete. And we're going to delete everything down here because it just got kind of random and messy before we stopped playing. And just clean up all this stuff in between. Again, I'm just using the click and drag and then cut method. So Control X, and there's a few different ways to delete stuff here in Buzz. That's just kind of the fast way that I do it. So this is not going to be perfect rhythm-wise, but I do believe we have the right notes now. Right, so you get the point. Basically, we use this so if we have a melody that's in our head and we want to know what notes are in that melody, or if we just want to directly record that so we can use it in a song project here, we have a way to completely just cheat and take the absolute lazy method, and it works fairly good. There's definitely some editing and some cleanup to do after the fact, but I think this Note Detector machine right here is pretty darn useful in the greater scheme of things. I think it's especially useful if you are an instrumentalist and also want to use Buzz to help augment your instrument performance or your composition and songwriting. But personally, I'm a guitarist and a singer, and I use Buzz all the time to make cool backing tracks for my music, so I don't need to have a drummer or a bassist or anything like that. I can tailor my rhythm tracks to be exactly what I want them to be. So now the million-dollar question is, can you do this without using Jescola Buzz? And the answer is maybe. I actually can't say with any certainty whether there is a version of this machine that exists in like a VST format or something like that that will work in any other DAW besides Jescola Buzz. Unfortunately, it is in the native Buzz format. This one is actually kind of interesting because it was made by one of the Buzz community members, and it was made fairly recently within the last few years. So although Buzz hasn't had an official release in recent times, this machine and a few others that I will be covering are about the closest that we can get to new features in Buzz for 2021. So for all the longtime users out there, or for those who just remember the glory days of Buzz back when it was newer, I don't believe that I'm crazy for using or covering Buzz in 2021, and there are actually still cool new things to check out that I've never known about, and that maybe some of you could also learn too. So I did happen to notice, though, that this Note Detector algorithm, not necessarily the machine itself, but the algorithm that the machine uses, is from its own code library. So basically, whoever adapted this to Jescola Buzz found the note detection algorithm and then made this machine around it. So I would venture a guess that maybe there are other people who have downloaded and used this same note detection algorithm. Whether or not it still has the options to send the detected notes via MIDI to other instruments and effects in the song project, I'm not sure on that part, but I bet somebody else out there is using this algorithm. And I bet that if you're not a Buzz user, you might be able to find something similar if you give it a search. Okay, that's all for this time. Make sure you follow me for more recipes. Give this video the thumbs up or the thumbs down, whether you liked it or not, and I would greatly appreciate your subscription if you feel that I have earned it. Until next time, hope you all have fun out there.